Welcome everyone. We're just gonna get started here. So nice to see all of you attending today. We have an exciting session ahead of us, and before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that we would love to get questions during the session. So please write your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer as many as possible by the end of the webinar. So let's get started. Gonna change slide. So my name is Sophie and I work here at Voyado. I couldn't do this by myself, so to make sure that the discussion on today's subject gets a bit more interesting, I have invited some company. So Ted, you're the CTO at Stellar Equipment. Maybe you can tell us a bit about who Stellar Equipment is.
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. Stellar Equipment, we're an outdoor clothing brand founded in 2015 by two experienced founders that wanted to change the industry from all of these increasing amount of sales and the seasonal collections. So they wanted to build a brand with a new, more sustainable business model. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're a brand that now sells our products over 40 plus markets. And yeah, we try to produce the best products for on-mountain activities, as we call it.
So skiing, hiking.
Exactly. Whatever you want to do on higher terrain or in the snow. So that's what we're doing.
Sounds awesome. Which market is your biggest one?
Scandinavia has been by far the biggest one, but now we see increased sales in US. So now Sweden and US is pretty the same size. So we see that we're gonna be the markets US and Canada is going to be our biggest markets going forward. But at the moment, Europe with focus on Scandinavia.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
For how long have you been at Stellar?
I've been here from 2019, and I had different roles at Stellar Equipment. I've been the CTO all the time, but also been responsible for the supply chain and also working closely with customer service and all different parts. So we're a really small team, so we do pretty much everything, but the CTO role is my main objective and that's my main focus, but it's really related to the supply chain. So those two areas is my focus.
Great. So for full transparency, Stellar Equipment is a customer to both Easycom and Voyado. So you've been working for a while with both our products. So I'm gonna move on to Marcus. You're here from Easycom. I know that you really care about today's subject. So maybe you want to tell us a bit about what you and Easycom do.
Yes, nice to meet you all. Yeah, I've been working with the digitalization of supply chains more or less my professional life, both from the supply side, but also on the customer side, representing e-commerce and retail companies. And I really bumped into this return challenge from all these angles during those years, and got the opportunity to jump on the Easycom journey from start. Where we develop digital return services end-to-end, including customer journey, operational management, return logistics, etc. So I have had all the hats on my head regarding roles at Easycom, but nowadays most of my time is spent with sales, but also analyzing the same design phases with the customers and the product development. So returns 5 days a week.
Then I guess we have the right people in this webinar to get started. Yeah, January is closing in, and we can see in our latest Voyado Retail Radar report that there has been a decrease in return rate on e-com and an increase in return rate in physical store since last year in the Nordics. But even though we can see a change there, the fact remains that many retailers still struggle with returns. and return management, especially in January, I would say. That's peak return season, both from a sustainability point of view, of course, and from a customer journey and like internal management within the organization to handle this. So this is a big subject. That's why we have you both here. So we'll just dive right in, start talking to each other. Yeah, as mentioned, there's been a shift in returns, like return rate, where you can see an increase in store. And we know that more and more people are getting back to the stores. So could there be other reasons as well, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, as in many topics, it's multi viewpoints on this, how it's affected the return share. But I think from both from a consumer perspective, but also from the media and market in general, we have been through a sustainability challenge, and now we are in the middle of a profitability challenge. And there has been a maturity and a more understanding about the topic and how the returns affect the business and the sustainability. And I think that has affected both the customer behavior, but also how the retailers and brands works with the questions. So I think that has affected the return in a positive way.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the return to store topic, I would say that is both really a possibility for the ones who have stores to work with, to drive footfall to the store, to give personal services, etc. And there has also been a maturity with regards to the tools and processes that is available to offer such a service. So there is more merchants today that can offer return to store, because it's not just to do it. It's a challenge when it comes to a legal perspective, a financial perspective, but also product routing perspective, working with a store assortment together with an online assortment, etc. So, but there has also been a maturity and the possibilities for the merchants is there today to offer a return to store service, which actually work also from a operational perspective and a system perspective.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to that. I'm gonna take a look at the numbers here to begin with, because we can see some interesting numbers. As many as 62% say that of consumers, that is, say that they would prefer to shop online if they can make a return in a physical store, and 16% would consider abandoning an order if the returns weren't free. That's online, of course, and that as many as 7 out of 10 would consider to abandon an order online if the return process seems a bit hard to understand. So I would like to ask Ted, would you say that there has been a change in return process expectations from consumers lately? Have you seen anything there? Maybe in terms of costs and...
Yeah, I think we haven't really seen a big change from our customers. They aren't asking for new services or telling us that we need to support them in a different way. But I think we've been really open with returns and as we are a D2C brand, we need to accept a level of returns. We can't really ask the customers to walk into a store and try on a jacket and get a feel of the fabric. We need to send the product to them, and in many cases it's hard to figure out what kind of size you want and what kind of product you need, so we need to accept the level of returns, and that's the way it's always been. So but I think it depends on what kind of market you're on as well and what kind of brand you are. We are a clothing brand. We need to accept that people look different in different ways, and they want the products to fit in different ways. We try to really solve it by using super detailed size charts where you can measure yourself and try to figure out what product would fit you the best way. We also have runway pictures where real people try on the product on the site, so you can see how does it really fit on a person that's 184 or something like that. So, but regarding on the return cost, it's been an ongoing discussion for the last couple of years, I would say, and we landed in that we need to simplify the process as much as possible to get our happy customers as much as possible. So we don't want them to scare them by saying you can't really return our products or charge them for the return. But it could also be like a symbolic value, just to make the customers aware of that there's a cost related to the return. It will affect it. It's a new shipment. It needs to fly over the whole world if we ship a product to US.
Yeah,
but we try to figure out different ways to minimize the shipments in other ways, and just scaring them off by telling them it's going to be expensive if you want to return it. So yeah,
seems smart. I know that you're doing something that not everyone else is doing. You're making it possible to like change a product. Like instead of actually filing for a return, you can send a product back and get a new size to kind of minimize shipments. How does that work?
Absolutely. We try to minimize the shipments, as I said, and before we worked with Easycom, it was really tricky for our customers to do exchanges. So today we can offer them exchanges without waiting for the return to be processed and then getting the money back and you can place a new order. That's the way we used to do it. But with Easycom, we can register an exchange directly, and if it's a really known customer, we can send out the new product directly as well. And also we can catch the different customers if they're struggling with finding the right size or finding the right product. We can communicate with them through the Easycom tool, so we can call them up and see what are you struggling with, what size should you order, and maybe it's the wrong product that you're ordering. The product you're ordering is really sensitive in the fabric. It's not made for walking with your dog because it will rip and it will break. You need the different products. So we can catch those kinds of tasks and errands at the earlier stage today. And when we talk, if we're trying to, what we're trying to aim for is to catching uncertain customer journeys. If they feel that they are struggling with placing the right order, we try to catch them at the earlier stage. So we're using different tools for that, and also try to reach out to them to see how can we help you find the right size and the right product. And if we have a situation where a customer can't really decide on, are you a medium or a large, we tell them in some cases order both and return one of them, because then we will have one shipment out to the customer and one return, instead of asking them to order a large and then exchange it, because then we will have 3 shipments. So that's one way of working with that as well.
I think you do something really important there, Ted, and that is that you are working with the return data or the return process in combined with the sales process, sales and marketing process, and that is really the key here. To combine the data, but also use that data for proactive communication, as you are describing there, and that is really something that we are trying to get understand or forcing our customers to work with, to really not see the sales process as one process and the return process as something else. They need to be combined, both from a process perspective, but also data perspective and communication perspective. And the example you did there is a perfect one, where trying to fetch them in the sales process at your site and redirecting them to different decisions based on data that you have fetched before. So that's really a good decision. A good example.
And I must say that we have the happiest customer on the market. We have the super high NPS score, and that's related to that we have so good customer service people that can help the customer finding the right product. because when the customer find the right product for the right purpose, we know that they are happy with our products. So, but we just need to catch them and guide them to the right product. Because if you buy the wrong product, you will not be happy with our products, because it's niche products that developed for a specific task.
Yeah.
So we need to help them in some cases.
Yeah, that I would assume that that's the biggest challenge when selling clothes, because they need to fit on individual
Exactly,
bodies.
and it's not just clothing that needs to have the right fit. You need to have the right fabric for the task that you're doing, because you have isolating pieces and you have shell pieces, and they work differently, and you can't really use them in the wrong way, because then you will not be happy. But a shout out to our customer service team. They are super good at helping our customers.
That's awesome. I'm gonna jump to the next one, and I want to get back to you, Marcus, as well, because now when we're talking to you, Ted, we're in the fashion industry, in the outerwear industry,
Yeah.
and like return rates look very different depending on which industry you're working in. But one thing that we could see in our report from Voyado, and this is all over every industry, so it's not specifically fashion, but we could see that women have a 25% higher return rate in general, and that customers who have received communication, customized offers, personal offers, or rewards have a 30% lower return rate. And that's kind of interesting, I would say. But Marcus, to begin with, do these numbers look the same, do you think, depending on industries? Or is fashion the only industry that has a really big problem with returns?
I mean, everyone has this challenge. It's just a matter of volume. I mean, if you are a big company with really low return share, but your revenue is really high and you have a lot of sales orders, then it becomes a problem either way. So it's a challenge for all. But when it comes to communication and loyalty, I don't see a differentiation between different industries. It's more like the ones that dares to work with their communication and are in the front line of testing new things, because we are coming from a situation in the world where we have pleased the customer within the e-commerce, when the e-commerce has matured to an extent that isn't healthy from neither from a sustainability perspective or a profitability perspective. So we need to transform the experience and to try to create transactions and business that is both profitable and sustainable. And while doing that, then communication becomes crucial, because you need to communicate constantly with the consumer to have them understand why you're doing certain decisions and why you're behaving in certain ways. And if you do that, then you can transform with positive effect. But without communication and loyal customers, you will. That is a really, really big challenge to transform in the right way.
And now you're bringing loyalty up here, and that's of course a part of this. But Ted, Stellar Equipment doesn't really work with personal offers or rewards in a monetary sense. I'm curious about your take on this. Like, what kind of incentives do you work with instead?
Yeah, as I said in the start, Stellar Equipment want to change the industry and want to get away from all of these discounts and sale periods. So we never do sales. So what we're trying to offer our customers instead is, like, if you buy a jacket and a pant, you get a mid layer or a hat or something that completes the outfit that you're trying to put together. So, and yeah, we try to build like bundle deals instead. So if you're taking a bigger chunk of your money and putting it with Stellar, we want to offer you something back to complete your system in some way. But we really hope to try to work more with individual deals in the future as well, where we're going to implement our loyalty program as well during next year. So, but we will never work with sales and discounts, but we're trying to find ways to offer the best products for the customer. And by having the loyalty and the that features, then we can get to know the customers even better. We know what they bought before, and we can add products that we recently released that would be a good addition to what they already have. So that's the way we're trying to work with these things instead. And yeah, I could also say, like, we trying to, with use of customer data, we can see all our customers that bought a pair of child pants last year, and now we have in stock the child jacket again, and we can offer them the child jacket that would be a great addition to the child pants. So we can have detailed offers in that way. We don't give them discount, but we get the information out to them that now we have the child jacket that will fit perfectly with your child pants in stock. Would you like?
You pretty much make sure to show them that we know you. And
exactly. That's what we're trying to do. And we're going to be much better on that next year.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
It's going to be super exciting to see how the loyalty program will look like.
Yeah.
But speaking of returning customers, and maybe even not returning customers, does frequent returners equal non-profitable customers? That's a big topic to talk about, and I guess there's not only one answer to that, but the talk of the town here in the Nordics, at least, have been to punish customers who are frequent returners. It could be by sending out punishment fees, or by blocking customers from making new purchases during a period of time. And as we've already talked about, return shipments are known to be a big environmental problem. But if we look at the profitability part on customers, is it safe to say that frequent returners are the least profitable customers in the long run? Marcus, what's your answer to this?
Yeah, we need a separate webinar for this topic. But in short, no, it isn't. I mean, all the research points out that you need to be on a specific consumer level or customer behavior level to be able to sort out if it's a profitable customer or not. I mean, if you are taking decision based on only the return share, you will go wrong, and you will drive as much cost as you drive profitability. So I mean, what we know is that it's a really small percentage that are standing out and having a really high return share. That is often the case, and as you say, someone just block them, or we are more into. And you are mentioning punishing fees. I don't like that sentence. We are more into educational fees and the educational communication, because you must always try to transform those consumers, because they have actually just done what is possible. Yeah. They haven't done anything wrong from their point of view. So you need to educate them and maybe charge them something, but then explain why, so you get a transformation of their behavior over time. Yeah. So the short answer is that no, there are profitable ones about the frequent returners, but there are also unprofitable ones. So you need to keep track on your data in detail and do your segmentation based on profitability and not on return share.
Yeah, and I guess this comes back to a bit what Ted talked about, like actually taking time and resources to understand the return reason, and actually trying to prevent returns by talking to your customers or helping in advance, really building that trust with the customers as well. What's the best way to take actions based on return codes, do you think, Ted? Like, you get all these return codes. Are there different ways to handle them?
I would say pretty much what Marcus already said. You really need to follow the data. Do you see any trends that stands out? I can take one example. If we a couple of years ago we released a new line that has had a totally different fit than all our other products, and suddenly we could see the return rate for that line really stand out. And when we tried to reach out to the customers and analyze the return codes, we could see that they weren't satisfied with the fit. The size wasn't as expected. And it was customers that already purchased products from us earlier. So they had an expectation that it would fit in one way, and now it didn't, because it was a totally different product for a totally different customers in some sense. So we could catch that pretty early, and we could alter and update our size charts, and we could add even more runway photos, runway movies on these new lines. And when we did that, we could see that the return rate decreased pretty significantly. So you need to analyze and see if you have anything
That's a great
that stands
example.
out.
That's a great example. We don't have much time left, but let's continue this talk. Short lead times while still delivering great customer experiences. Is that possible? I think it sounds like it's possible from the discussion we've had, but I would still assume that all retailers and e-com brands would like for the lead times to be optimized while still delivering these customer experiences. How would you do that? Shortening the lead times. Marcus, I'm asking you first.
Just to sort it out a little bit. I mean, we are talking about two different lead times. It's and there is of course more, but related to returns, we can work with two important lead times. So one is the time to refunding the consumer, so they are comfortable with the return, and they are getting the money back. And that could be done in many ways, and especially if we are talking international processes, etc., where you have a shipping time, a return shipping time, etc. You can fetch the data in the local countries and trigger the refunding from that point. But another KPI which is related to lead time, which talks a little bit less about, but it's more important from our point of view, and what we can see is the lead time until when the product can be sold again. And that is really important to work with, because then you get an effect on your sales also. So that is something that you can work with when it's on product level, more or less, a product group level, to drive the return logistics in different ways, depending on what kind of product it is, if it's a seasonal product or not, and make it fast or slow, cost efficient or more costly, based on that important lead time.
Yeah. And Ted, from your point of view here, like you mentioned, you're a small team at Stellar Equipment. So how have you seen a change in, like, what would you say, the logistics and the administrative lead times?
Yeah. Before we had the tools we have in place now, it took so much time from our customer service just to instructing our customers how to do a return and managing exchanges and things like that. So now most of that process is already digitalized, so we can focus on doing more selling activities, and guiding our customers to the right products, instead of just sending out different shipping labels and helping them with where to return the products and things like that. So that really helped us a lot. And I would really agree with Marcus what he's talking about, the operations parts as well. And during these holiday seasons and peak seasons, the number of returns will go up, and you need to prioritize and plan for that. So if you're working with a 3PL or you're having your own warehouse, set up some additional return stations to manage the larger amount of returns, because it's 99% good items that you want to offer to the customers as soon as possible, and not just building up a big bulk of returns that you haven't managed, because that's non-sellable goods. That's just costing money. So it's you will benefit from just planning a little bit ahead on the big return period, as well as you do for the big selling period, when you staff up with more people to pick and pack and ship. You need to do the same on the returns.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
It's
But
sellable goods.
exactly. On that note, we've been talking like the big picture here when it comes to returns and customer experiences connected to returns. But the subject for this webinar was how to prepare for the January rush. What about, like, you have all these good things in place and you can see a big result in a good way from that. You feel like it feels like you know what you're doing as their equipment. But for those who don't have yeah, but for those brands who don't have these things in place, where should they start? Like, January is closing in.
Yeah, as I just said, I think plan for it for the upcoming big season for returns. And we've been growing pretty rapidly last couple of years, and we didn't really understand how much time and effort it will take to manage all the returns as well. So you need to plan for that. But like on a more general point, I would say, what do you try to think about? What would you like to do with the returns? What kind of information would you like to know, and what kind of information could you act on? And defining return codes and processes based on that. What kind of trends would you like to catch? And really think about that, because everything is possible to digitalize, and there's great tools out there like Voyado and Easycom that can help you do the segmentation and find and figure out trends. So, but you really need to think of what do you want to do with the data to be able to take some actions on it. It's easy just to throw it all up there, but you don't really know how to manage and handle it, and what do you really want to measure. And we've seen lately a good profitability in just adding return data back to the BI systems as well, to merge that with the sales data to do even more follow more trends in a more detailed way. So that's the next step when you have everything in place.
Great. Marcus, I'm going to ask the same to you. What's the best way to start? I mean,
if you don't have anything in place today, I mean, you can see the return peak as a good thing, because you will probably get some data of some kind, a lot of it in January. I mean, it could be paper-based, it could be fetched in some WEMS or at the 3PL site or whatever, but probably you can fetch something and you can start working with the data that will give you insight and tools to be able to start to see the business potential within the area and start working with the issue during next year. So you come into the next January with an even more proactive way of working and information. So go out there, fetch the data. You probably have something to work with. And step number 2, in one way or another, digitalize the return process in a simple way, because then you get a structured way of fetching the data and you can be put in the front seat. So yeah, that's my 2
cents.
2 cents.
Yeah. So even though you get big returns, stay positive, because you can learn something from it.
Exactly.
That's a good way of thinking. And besides from my questions to you, we have some questions from the ones who's listening. We want more questions, so please just fill up the chat with questions. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to start with this one. From someone listening, how to automate/digitalize product exchange in online return processes through warehouse by using Easycom, for example. Is it similar to in-store, the process?
If it's similar to in-store, well, I mean, it's the exchange process. It's a combination of different things. It's the capability of enabling and offering to the consumer in the customer journey, which is related to the stock that you have on your variants.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. And when the consumer then has chosen this exchange product, then you have two options. Either one is to fulfill it directly, because you have data that it is maybe as a member or things like that, or you need to allocate it in the ERP or WMS. So I would say that is a pretty much easier way of doing it online. But it's possible to do it in a retail store also, but then you actually need someone that is acting on the data, that take the product and put it aside for a consumer to get in and fetch it. So it's more operational complexity with the exchange process in store.
Great. Jesper, if you have a follow-up question, just write in the chat. I hope that was an answer that covered your needs. We have one more here. Let's see. A question for Stellar Equipment, Ted. How do you prevent returns with your communication so that customer knows what to expect? Do you have any examples?
Communication.
I mean, you talked about customer service, but maybe if there are other ways.
Yeah, other ways we can talk. One example, if our customer purchased one of our down products, it looks pretty boring when you received it because it's vacuum packed and it didn't really look at the way it looked on the site. So you maybe would be a little bit disappointed when you open up the package. So we try to send out some communication on how to handle the product when you receive it. You need to hang it up for 24 hours or something like that, and then it will be puffy and look like it should. Otherwise, if we don't really do information like that, we could see early on that people just returned it because it looked super boring and it looked like a fake product that we ordered from Wish and sent them to them. So you need to instruct the customers a little bit more on how to manage the products afterwards they received it.
Yeah, I guess you learned from someone returning and filing.
Yeah, we saw a lot of returns in the beginning.
Okay, so that's a good idea, and I guess that would work for like technical products as well, like send instructions or take care communication, etc. That's always good. Let's see. We will only have time for one or maybe two questions. Okay. I need to pick one. We have a few. Okay, so how scalable are digital returns solutions, especially for businesses experiencing growth? Maybe that's one for you, Marcus, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, with nowadays technology, of course, I would say I would represent most of the return services out there on the market. Those are software as a service solutions running on cloud services as Azure or Amazon or whatever, and what they do is scalability, and the services are designed on those infrastructures. So I would say that's not a question of today's solutions.
Yeah, we never experienced any issues with performance or anything like that during no peak season regarding the return process, even though it's heavy pictures and heavy processes, but the technology nowadays manage that without problems.
That's good. So I'm sorry, we don't have time to answer all the questions, but for those who send in questions, we'll make sure to answer them afterwards, because we can see who sends the questions. So on that note, thank you all for listening, and thank you both Ted and Marcus for being here. It's always inspiring to get such good knowledge spread across. So thank you.
Thank you. Happy to share.
Good.
Thank you. Hope to
We
see you
sorry, for everyone listening, we have recorded the webinar, so we'll send it in an email to you, maybe today or maybe tomorrow. So keep your eyes open and have a great day, everyone.
Yep.
See you.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.